Welcome back to Fixing Furniture. I make these YouTube videos to teach people how to repair furniture because I believe this is a disappearing craft. I've got two pieces of furniture here that are evidence of that. They've been repaired poorly and they've caused greater damage to the piece than if they would have been fixed properly the first time. In this video, I'm going to walk you through repairing this bench. There's a piece of trim that's missing on the side, but when this was repaired, it was repaired with nails in the joints, and there are screws underneath that are holding this together with a mending plate as well. It's got some beautiful joinery. There's a through tenon on the end of the stretchers, so I'll walk you through how I repaired this bench. This chair here is another piece that you'll see in an upcoming video of what not to do. There's fencing wire that goes across and holds the chair together. There are nails in the seat holding the legs in place, and the arm on the back is being held in place by a really long bolt. When I take this chair apart, it might be the worst piece of furniture I've ever worked on. Now this bench needs a lot of TLC, so I'm going to take it apart, put it together properly, remake a part for the end here. Stick with me, I'll show you how it's done.
As a furniture repair business, we're opening the doors to our workshop to show you the tools and techniques to repair furniture.
The front rail here, you can see this has been broken off.
We give you tips to make your repair projects easier. Let's get into the workshop and start fixing furniture.
When I'm working on a piece of furniture, I like to understand if I'm working with a valuable antique or something that's not as valuable. This is a piano bench and it's made in a Victorian style, but I don't think it was made in the Victorian era. There are no stamps or identification underneath this to tell me that, so I'll show you the hints that I see on this that tell me this is something that's probably made in the 20th century. Victorian era furniture was typically made of high-end wood, and this looks like mahogany, but if you see where it's been scratched, these areas here, it's actually a light wood that's been stained. So this isn't mahogany. Another hint that I get is the quality of the wood turning. So I'll come in really close here. I'll put my hand behind this to see if we can get it focused. You can see there are some scratches across the turning here. And those scratches are from the wood turner not sanding it thoroughly. So that tells me this was likely manufactured versus someone who did this handmade and really put a lot of care into their craft. Another hint about the age is the top here. You see these dark marks? This is something called tear out in woodworking. So when a plane goes across here, it slices the wood, but it actually pulls out pieces of wood. This isn't something that a hand tool woodworker would have left behind. So this tells me this was manufactured in a plant. So this might be early 20th century at the most. Because of that, would call it an antique. An antique is 100 years old or more. Certainly a beautiful looking piece, but not something that's extremely valuable. So I'm going to start by flipping this over and taking it apart, and I'll show you at least 3 spots where someone's done something they shouldn't have done to repair furniture. So you can see here there's a mending plate, and that shouldn't be added there. What this does is it holds the leg in place, but it allows the wood to still move, which wears out the joint. There's a screw here in each of the other 3 legs, so that does a similar thing. It allows the wood to move and wear out and keeps it in place. There's also evidence of brad nails in here, so this might be difficult to take apart. We'll start with the screws. Now it can be tempting to use an impact driver to undo these screws, but that ticking sound is actually a ratcheting and it could break the screw. And you really don't want broken screws in here because it's extremely difficult to fix. So the best thing to do is use a screwdriver. It takes a few minutes more to do it, but it can save you a lot of work if that screw breaks. So I'll take out this mending plate and see what we've got. The leg's a little loose. Oh, look at that. It's broken right across there. Well, that's a difficult repair, so we'll have to get that fixed. As I'm pulling screws out here, I see there's a screw through this through tenon. So a through tenon is a piece of wood that goes all the way through the piece it's joined to. It's a decorative joint. You don't see that very often in furniture. So I thought this was a brand new screw, but when I look at this side here, you can see that there's a slotted screw. So this looks like it's part of the original construction technique because I'm seeing these exact same screws down here. I'll take out the last few screws here and then we'll see how easily this comes apart. This through tenon is loose, but there's a brad nail right there which tells me the brad nails used weren't long enough to actually go through the joint. That's a good sign, because these are very difficult to deal with. Hopefully the rest are the same. I'll label the parts before I take them apart. I've got a bunch of labels here pre-made I can just stick on. I use my spreader clamps to ease the legs out of the bottom here. Hopefully the last person didn't use PVA glue to glue this together, because if they did, it's not coming apart. When repairing furniture, it's important to know what type of glue to use. I only use hide glue when gluing joints like this because I can put vinegar in there and loosen that up. So white household vinegar is all you need. Fingers crossed this will let it release so I can repair that broken leg. I'll wiggle the leg here and encourage that glue to go further into the joint. I see some movement, so that's encouraging. Let it sit for about 10 minutes and I can see if I can get it apart. The other part that's complicating this is I need this angled piece to come out, but there's a brad nail right there. So this is small enough in diameter, I'm sure that brad nail's gone through, so I need to pull that out. I've excavated around there, but I'm just not able to get a grip on it. Brad nails are soft metal, so I can move it around a little bit with an awl, but I'm just not able to pull this out. So last resort is to drive it through the joint. I use a punch, and hopefully I can get it driven straight through and out the other side. No, it just wants to bend. It's frustrating to work on pieces that haven't been repaired properly, and that's why I want to show these videos. Putting brad nails in furniture could damage this furniture to the point where I can't repair it. I'll continue to see if I can loosen up this leg and maybe pull it off the tenon at the end here. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I need to do something to repair that broken leg. So the good news is I got these legs off, but once I fix the tenon here, there's going to be so much tension at the bottom here, I don't think I can get that back on. So I do need to take this brace apart, one of these spots here, to allow this to lift up, to put it all back together again. It's going to be a challenge. I can't get these joints apart, so I've flexed this as much as I can, and it looks like there may be enough leeway to get these joints started and put this together. So I'm going to change my focus and switch on dealing with this broken leg. To repair the leg, ideally I get this tenon out in one piece. So I'm going to soak around it. Hopefully I loosen up the glue and I can get it out without breaking it. To repair the tenon, I'm actually going to be weakening the leg. The ideal repair here would be to turn a whole new leg so that this is one continuous piece of wood. The compromise that I'm making is I'm going to cut this flush and glue this on the end. Now, wherever I have a butt joint, there's virtually no strength. This will snap off very, very easily. So I'm going to put a 1/2 inch dowel through both of these, and that will go all the way through. So I'll have a 1/2 inch of strength through this joint here. Now, the reason I don't like doing this is because wherever this joint ends, I'm creating a weakness in this part of the leg. The side grain will hold well, it'll be strong, but the end grain is a weakness. But because I've got such a large mass on this part of the turning, I'm not concerned about weakening it. So I think this is a good compromise for this bench.
Become a member of our Fixing Furniture community for resources to help you learn. We offer reference sheets, live meetings, community forum, and more. Go to fixingfurniture.com for details.
With the 1/2 inch dowel there, it's not perfectly on a straight line, so it's a little bit off angle. But I'm going to use this as my drill guide for the part that goes into the leg. So hopefully that will line up, and then I can twist this a little bit if I need to adjust it. The dowel is not going all the way down, probably because there's an air pocket there. So just cut a slot in it all the way down to let air escape and excess glue. But let's give it a dry fit. A dry fit is where you put the parts together without any glue. So I'm just going to start this just to make sure the parts are lining up. Just need to stretch this a little bit taller. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Now this one is tapered a little bit at the end, so I'll taper that a little bit, but it's looking good. I don't want to drive that all the way in. It might be difficult getting it out, but I'm confident that this will work. So mark the location here. Pull this off. Now, before I do that, I'm just going to mark this. I may need to cut that off. Let's just see how things are lining up. I use fencing pliers because it creates a good snug hold around a radius. And what I mean by that is, you can see here, it's actually just gripping the outside of it without crushing it. So it's a good tool to use for this. I'm just going to double check my depth here. Yep, I've got lots of depth. It's just an air pocket in there that's preventing this from going all the way in. So I'll slice it along here with my Japanese saw, and that'll allow air and glue to escape when I glue it up. So I've cut the shallow groove here on the length of the dowel, and I'm ready to glue it together. So I'm using PVA glue for this, because I want this to be a permanent bond. Unlike the joinery, where I want to use hide glue so that the joint is reversible, allowing someone to take this apart. Now it's also important to glue both the mortise and the tenon. So this needs to go inside here. Spread that glue around. I'm going to do that one more time just to make sure. And then I can put it together. Okay, so that's where it stopped last time. I'll use my mallet, drive it in further. Okay, now as I put this on, I'm going to twist it, just sort of spread the glue around a little bit. And we've got good glue coverage. Okay, so now what I'll do is load up the joints with high glue and put them together. So I'll load the hide glue in the mortises first, the tenon second, and they'll actually help lubricate, put everything together. Oops, goes this way. Okay, so now I'm going to stand it up and make sure it doesn't have a wobble to it. Which it does. So this just needs to be seated a little bit more as the long leg. There we go. Okay, so I'll let that dry. In the meantime, there's this piece of trim that's missing. I need to work on that. Piece of trim is all ready to go here. I routed a cove in it, cut it to size, and now I can stain it. One of the most challenging things for me to learn over the years was stain matching. Now I use acrylic stains. It really makes a big difference of using acrylic stains versus penetrating stains, oil-based stains, because when you put it on, you can easily wipe it off. So the mahogany that I use is too red, and then I'll add some dark stain. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, that's still a little bit too red. So this darker tone is what I'm looking for in here. So when you're adding dark color, you need to do it sparingly because a little bit of color goes a long way. But I'm going to add a fair bit here just to dial in that color tone, get it much darker. Okay, let's give that a try here. I'm working on the back of this piece. Still looking rather red. Okay, I'm gonna need a brown. That's looking a little bit better. Oh. Wow, it's still not dialed in. I'm not on my color game today. And it happens sometimes. Working with colors takes experience and practice. We're getting closer here. Yeah, it's still too red. Okay, I'm going to make a big shift here. So here I'm working with a lighter color, so I need a lot more volume to shift the color. I'll put this on the bench. So now I've got the brown in it. There, that's what we're looking for. Okay, so I'll wipe that off and let's stain the piece. Okay, so I'm going to start by doing the miter because the miter may be visible. There's a little bit of wood movement that happens here. The end grain soaks in a lot, so I just need to add it on and take it off immediately. And now I can apply the stain. I'll let it sit for a few minutes. and then wipe it down. So I'm just letting the stain dry a little bit here before I wipe it off, but it's looking a little too brown. I overshot that a little bit. I'll put some dark stain back in there and get it dialed in. I've wiped off the excess stain, and I'm going to put on the final coat after I put the nails on. It'll help disguise the nails. Now, there are nails across here, but this is cross grain, so I'm going to put them close to the center here so there's less space in between them. That will just make sure there isn't wood expansion if I were to attach them on the ends. So I'm going to pre-drill 2 holes. The true test of a finish match is standing it up and looking at it in place. So here I'm reading it's just a little bit darker than what I'm seeing on the front. So I'll just use a dry brushing technique, take off a little bit of that stain, and that'll dial it in. Because the acrylic stain acts a bit like a glaze, I can take a dry brush and just lightly take a little bit off here to mimic what's happening on this side. I'm going to leave the bottom part dark. It's really just the front here. I'll use my stain mix to touch up some of these areas and make them look less noticeable. The last step is to put a coat of shellac on, and I use garnet shellac. So this is a dark colored shellac. I mix it up from shellac flakes. And the nice thing about shellac is it dries in just a few minutes. This piano bench is now ready to go back to the customer. I took a lot of hardware out of it, but there are still brad nails holding those joints together. If something breaks in the future on this, it'll be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to repair it. So if you only learn one thing from this video, please don't add metal to wood joints. Wood joints are held together with glue, and hide glue is the best glue to do that because it can be reversed and taken apart if there are any issues. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to our channel, and I'll leave you with another video right here that you can enjoy. Thanks for watching Fixing Furniture.